What's up, guys? KAMIKAZE-FOX coming to you from SRL. That is season 6, round 14, here at the home, the Ferrari-built Monza. And coming off of a round 13 at Spa, doing the power tracks back-to-back. Came off of Spa a couple weeks ago, round 13. Jensen Randall with yet again another pole position, his fifth pole position. I'm sorry, that's not him. His sixth pole position of the year, backed it up with his sixth win of the year. Andrea Latrella coming home second once again, still trying to find a way to beat Jensen at his own game. And then Dennis Carenchis with his third podium of the year. Coincidentally enough, the top three at Spa finished the same as the top three at round 12 at Hungary. It was Jensen, Andre, and Dennis at round 12 and round 13. Sandro Doulis came home 14th last time out. Great run for him. Louis Quinlan was 5th. Dion Stahl was 6th. Nick Van Gelder was 7th. Yuma Rusic 8th. Reese March was 9th. And Jorge Correa on his epic comeback for SRL finishes 10th, rounding out your top 10 points paying positions. Jorge Correa 10th. Robin Herterstag in 11th. Rennie Vanderstappen is 12th. Colin Higgins, Max Mulder, and Luke Smith round out your 15 drivers. All had DNFs. Colin Higgins with his third DNF of the season. Max Mulder with his second DNF of the season. And not only his second DNF of the season, but his second DNF in a row. And Luke Smith with his first DNF of the season. Luke Smith is a part-time driver. Has participated in most of the races this year, but his first DNF. Jensen Randall continues to lead the point standings, 276 points to his credit. Andrea Latrella still trying to play catch-up. He's still mathematically in it, but his window is closing. Andrea Latrella, 213 points to his credit. Luke Smith, the reserve driver, is third with 102. Cameron Weston Edwards was unable to make up that points gap last time out. He's got 98 to his credit. Sandro Doulis is got 87 to his credit after a great run to fourth. Dennis Carenchis and Liam Hill tied at 81 apiece. Rennie Vanderstappen 66. Reese has 52 points to his credit, and Nick Van Gelder rounding out your top 10 points standings with 48. So here we are, round 14 at Monza. We'll run down the driver lineup. Sandro Doulis in the Ferrari today. He will be running a special livery on his helmet to commemorate Ferrari's home race. Cameron Weston Edwards will be rocking the McLaren. Spicy 150, that's newcomer Victor Larson. He will be in the Haas. Louis Quinlan is in the Alfa Romeo NRG Destructor 33. That is Jim Sanitas, and he is going to be rocking the factory Renault. He is taking place of Funes Van Houten. Funes, after 3 seasons, had to call it quits. Unfortunately, won't be able to finish out the rest of this year due to some personal matters. So certainly look forward to having Funes back on track hopefully next season. But in the meantime, Jim Sanitas making his SRL debut today. He'll be in the row, teamed up with Colin Higgins. Dion Stahl will be in the other Ferrari. Dennis Carenchis in the Racing Point. Felipe has the last name too. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. He'll be in the Alfa Romeo. Reese March in the Haas. Max Mulder, Racing Point. Jensen Randall, your points leader in the Mercedes-AMG Petronas. Rennie Vanderstappen in the McLaren. Andrea Latrella in the AlphaTauri, along with Jan Holm. He'll be making his comeback. I haven't seen him in quite a few races. Good to have him back on track. And Jorge Correa right now rounding out your 16 drivers. And El Pador F1, that is Esteban Hermanos. He'll be looking to be in the race today as well. So 16 drivers, it looks like, for today's race. So, and as we said, Funes Van Houten is out, and an announcement made this morning right before the race. Sandro Doulis and Dion Stahl have already signed up and teamed up to stay at Ferrari once again next year. Not really a surprise, but a good place to make the announcement here at Ferrari's home track. The Italian team will stay the same. It is the longest tenured teammates and team in SRL history. 7 years they have been, it will be 7 years next year that they have been at Team Ferrari and paired up together. So congratulations on them making that announcement today. And as I said, Sandro Doulis will be running a special livery on his helmet to commemorate. We've got Dennis Gutnick on the live chat. He is a reserve driver for SRL as well. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make the race today. We've got Max Mulder and Sandro Doulis on the live chat as well. So Getting ready to kick off an 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race here at Monza. And as I said, we're doing the power tracks back-to-back, Spa and Monza, obviously the two fastest tracks in the F1 circuit, maybe with the exception of Baku, but Spa and Monza, proper F1 tracks in the more traditional sense. While Baku is a lot of fun to watch, it is a street course and just doesn't have quite the same legacy and allure that Monza and Spa do. So good to have these races run back-to-back, obviously done on purpose when making the schedule. Just a lot of fun to have, you know, not just the power tracks back-to-back, but if you go back even a little bit further, Hungary, Spa, Monza, we're putting the proper tracks kind of in order, gives the season a good flow. So, and we've got Dennis saying he's watching the stream on 240 pixels. That's got to be a rough one. So we'll see. Monza in the past, this is, you know, Ferrari's home track, and Ferrari, as it stands right now, is the only team that has multiple wins here in SRL history. Season 1, Season 2 won by Ferrari. Season 1 was Sandro Doulis. Season 2, Dion Stahl. So they are the only team to have had multiple wins here. And Season 3 was won by the infamous Killian Brady on a tear that he had in Season 3. Season 4, Vasilios Belasiotis, and again, another driver that was on a tear that year. And then Season 5, last year was actually won by Nick Van Gelder. Nick, doesn't look like Nick's with us, is he? I didn't mention his name, and I see Esteban Hermanos is in the Red Bull, I believe. So no Nick today. That's interesting. I think Nick is on holiday, as you Europeans call it. Us Americans would call it a vacation. But no Nick Van Gelder. So, but 18 drivers for today's race. It looks like Dennis Carrenches is the first one to go on an out lap. And we got Louis Quinlan on the live chat, along with Nick Van Gelder, saying he's not home this weekend, so he's going to have to miss this one. We got Don Farron on there as well. So Louis Quinlan asking about predictions for the race. Louis participating in the race today, and I don't know. It's Monza. Monza in the past has actually been a little bit of a crapshoot. We've had a few drivers here in years past, particularly like Jesper Lempinen was in Season 4, I think, had a shock pole position here at Monza. Really started to show some speed that day. Dennis Carrenches has been on a fairly good upswing. Couple of podiums in a row, plus a pole position, so we can look for him. Jenson Randall obviously going to be the favorite heading into today's race, and it's hard to not look at Andrea Latrella. I mean, AlphaTauri, Scuderia AlphaTauri, I mean, it could be said it's not necessarily a home track for the Scuderia AlphaTauri since they are a Red Bull sub-team, but, you know, Scuderia, it's Italian, so... And I'm kind of interested to see how Jim Sanitas is going to do. There's been a lot of talk with him leading up to the race. Looks like he's also going to be participating in the Project Cars GT3 series as well. So let's get some lap data up here for you guys as we ride along with Dennis Carrenches. He's the first guy to start a hot lap. And to be perfectly honest, my predictions, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Jensen and Andrea and Dennis finish 1, 2, and 3 again for a third week in a row. Dennis coming out of the Parabolica, going to come across the line, and he is going to set the precedent at a 1:19.221. Pick up Jenson Randall as he's coming out of the Parabolica. And Jensen is going to come across the line. 1:18.456 immediately goes 0.8 of a second quicker. You see Cameron Weston Edwards, 1:19.656. Rennie Vanderstapp, his teammate, 1:21.71. We'll pick up Dion Stahl. He's coming through Ascari now as he heads down onto the back straightaway. And it looks like he's off the pace a little bit. He's possibly trying to help out his teammate. Sandro's on an out lap. I was thinking maybe there are going to be some slipstream team orders here. Looks like they go around the AlphaTauri. That could have been Andrea Latrella. So it looks like there might be some Ferrari teamwork here. Sandro coming down the front straightaway. It's a little too far back to pick up any type of slipstream from his teammate. We're going to ride along with him, though. Oh, it looks like he went a little too deep in the first corner. You see Dion did set a time, 1:30.6. That's obviously off the pace. You see Joe Marusic has just come across at a 1:27.27. Sandro's going purple sector 1 through Lesmos 1 down into Lesmos 2. And it looks like he's going to get a little bit of something. He's going to get some help now from Dion. Dion's going to drag him along. Sandro's going to use that slipstream heading down into Ascari. Got to be careful in the curbing here. The curbs can be very dangerous, especially this last one. You see Sandro stays off of it. Down the back straightaway. Don Farron cheering on Sandro. Sandro coming down in the Parabolica now. Drops it 3 gears, back up into 6, back up into 7. That's a good run coming out of the corner. He's going to be in the 119s. 119.494. Good enough for 4th quickest so far. And I think he's got more left in the tank. You see Andrea Latrella's gone 2nd quickest. We didn't catch it, but he's a 118.643. So Andrea, once again, trying to play catch-up to Jensen Randall. Let's see who we can pick up here. Colin Higgins. Looks like Higgins is on an out lap. Actually, he's on a timed lap, but he just blew the last corner in Ascari. It validates his lap time. He'll have to come around and do it all again. We'll pick up Jim Sanitas. He's on an invalidated lap time. Spicy 150, Victor Larson, also on an invalidated lap time. Esteban Hermanos. Looks like Esteban is just now starting a hot lap. He's rocking the Red Bull today, so he'll have some support from the fans in the stands with Nick Van Gelder cheering on his team. Unfortunately for Esteban, the last time he was out, I believe, was back at round 11 at Silverstone, where he was disqualified for resetting his car to the track. That is prohibited by the SRL rule book, so he was unfortunately disqualified from the race. Esteban had actually shown some promise during that race. He was running up front for a little while. He was showing good speed. The couple of races that Esteban's done this year, he has shown some flashes of speed, but unfortunately he's made a couple of bonehead moves. Obviously, the resetting to the track was one of them. But right now, currently coming out of Ascari onto the back straightaway. See what kind of time he can set. And Jan Holm has set a time, 10th quickest, 121.932. We didn't catch that, but he's currently 10th quickest. Colin Higgins has left the session. And Colin, again, looks like he's having internet issues. That's been 3 weeks now. Colin's had some internet issues. At a 119.844 for Esteban Hermanos, jumps him to 6th quickest, right behind Cameron Wesson Edwards. We'll try and pick up Louis Quinlan. Louis Quinlan had a great qualifying effort at Spa. Looks like he's on an invalidated lap time. Probably blew it coming out of Ascari, unfortunately. But Louis Quinlan had a great qualifying effort at Spa. Unfortunately, he got dumped going into turn 1 by Rennie van der Stat. Had a great comeback drive. Finished 5th. So we're going to stick with Louis Quinlan. Ooh, and a big lockup on the right front there from Louis. He heads into the first chicane. And Don Farron wants to know if I played Dirt Rally 2. Yes, I have. I have Dirt Rally 2. I actually have a IRL Dirt Rally Championship to my credit. Albeit it wasn't a very competitive season, and I'm not very good at the game, but I still won the championship. So that was for IRL International Racing League. Dennis, I appreciate the kind words. And I want to give a shout out to Luis Sal. I'm not even going to try and say your last name, but cheering on Felipe. So it's always good to have these drivers having some fans in the stands as we ride along with Louis Quinlan. Finally makes it through a Scary. He's on a hot lap, coming down that back straightaway into the Parabolica. Looks like he's going to be it's going to be close. He's going to be a little tick off the pace, probably somewhere between 5th and 8th on the timing sheet. We'll see what he can do as he comes across the line. And a 1:19 flat actually makes him go 4th quickest. Good qualifying effort by Louis Quinlan. And we'll pick up NRG. Jim Sanitas has finally set a lap time, 1:19.268. Good on him, 5th quickest so far. We're going to pick up the big 3. It looks like Jensen Randall's getting ready to come across the line. 1:18.307 improves his time. We'll pick up Andrea Latrella. 8 minutes left to play in the session. And provisional pole just set, 1:18.307. Andrea is on an invalidated lap time. Where's Dennis Carenchis? Looks like Carenchis is also on an invalidated lap time. We'll pick up Andrea Latrella. Coming down the front straightaway, you see Esteban Hermanos coming out of the pits. And I do think Dennis actually asked me if I like NASCAR. Yes, I do. I watch it every week. And we're riding along with Andrea Latrella, 1:18.6. He's 0.3 of a second off of provisional pole. Ooh, and he cuts that corner a little too tight and validates his lap time. He'll have to come around and do it again. We'll pick up Dennis Carenchis. Carenchis is heading into the pits. So we'll pick up Sandro. Sandro coming out of Lesmos 1 into Lesmos 2. Looks like he's going to get a little bit of slipstream off of the car in front. That's Andrea Latrella. And Sandro going to use that to his benefit. Down into Ascari. Looks like we had a yellow flag there. Through Ascari. Yellow flag be damned. Sandro stays on the gas. Down the back straightaway, and that's probably not for an incident. That's probably just for a slow car. There's Jensen Randall. Down into the Parabolica. Back on the gas, 7. Up into 8th. And he's going to come across the line. 1:19 flat. Moves him into 4th. So Sandro, the first driver outside of the 1:18s. 4th quickest so far. We'll pick up Max Mulder. Max Mulder's on an invalidated lap time, but currently he is 9th quickest, 1:19.982. Let's pick up Jan Holm. Haven't seen him in a couple weeks. He's very slow coming out of the first chicane. And it looks like he is short shifting, so he is not on a hot lap. Colin Higgins. Higgins having some internet issues. Yet to set a time. I'm not sure if he's got control of that car yet. And Higgins has just set a personal best in Sector 2, and he's got too much curb. Oh, and Colin Higgins into the wall, and I said it earlier, you got to watch the curbs through Ascari, and he got too much of that one, and he is done for the day. He will not set a time, and he will be starting 18th for today's race. We'll pick up Esteban Hermanos, see where he's at. Looks like he's coming out of Lesmos 2, runs it a little wide, almost lost the back end there. Dumps the left side tires into the dirt, but here he comes down the straightaway. DRS slot open, and he's coming into Ascari. The yellow flags will be waving. This is where Colin Higgins went off, and again, too much curbing there. Be careful coming through there. Esteban manages to hang on to it down the back straightaway. And Logan Arand, Epic the Animal, saying on the live stream that won't buff out. And Logan, we are working behind the scenes to try and get him into the SRL. Unfortunately, due to some work obligations, he hasn't really been able to get into a good communication flow with the league and find a good time to get in here. But we're working on it behind the scenes. Esteban Hermanos, 1:19.558, 7th quickest so far. We'll pick up Max Mulder, and he is diving into the pits. So nobody really on a timed lap. We'll pick up Jim Sanitas. Now Sanitas is coming out of the Parabolica onto the front straightaway. He's going to start a timed lap. We'll ride along with him. Sinitas making his SRL debut, replacing the 3-year veteran Foons Van Houten. Van Houten unable to complete the rest of the season. Big lockup on the right front there as he heads into the turn 1-2 chicane, trying to get that power down, loses the back end just a little bit. And looks like he is short shifted into 8th, and he is going to abort that lap, unfortunately. So let's pick up Dion Stahl. Dion Stahl set a timed lap of a 1:30. Clearly he was off the pace for that. He just invalidated his lap time heading through Ascari. So, 3:30 left to play in the session, and Dion Stahl struggling to set a competitive time. And we'll stick with him. He's coming through the Parabolica. And he is going to dive into the pits. So we'll pick up Cameron Weston Edwards. Edwards in the fight for 3rd in the points. Wants to get back to being the best of the rest behind Jensen Randall and Andrea Latrella. 4 points separates him and reserve driver Luke Smith. Luke Smith not in the race today. Actually, one of the few races Luke has missed this year. Luke missed last race as well, unfortunately, at Spa, but Cameron wasn't able to capitalize on that. Right along with Cameron, though. Through Lesmos 2, runs it a little wide coming out of that corner, invalidates his time. He'll have to come around and try it again. We'll pick up Reese March coming out of Ascari onto the back straightaway, the lone Haasman. Of the lone Haasman in the... Well, that's not true. Victor Larson's in the other Haas. Victor has not set a time. He's on an invalidated lap time. We'll go back to Reese. So Jorge Correa and Victor Larson have yet to set a time. Colin Higgins crashed at Ascari. And Reese does improve his position up to 9th, 1:19.886. And speaking of Jorge Correa, we'll pick him up. He's coming down the back straightaway now. Just came out of Ascari. And Dennis Gutnick is saying his 125 would have set him right around 10th or 12th. And Jorge Correa set the time of 1:25.34, so yes, 12th position it is. We'll pick up Victor Larson now. Looks like he's coming out of the 1-2 chicane. He's getting a little bit of slipstream help. That's Max Mulder, who's 10th quickest so far. Max is going to blow the corner and let Victor go. Victor cut that corner a little deep. I'm surprised he got away with it. Down into Lesmos 1. Down into Lesmos 2, runs it a little wide coming out of there and validates his lap time. He's got one more shot if he can get back to the line in time. Meanwhile, we'll go back to Jensen Randall. Randall is on a timed lap, but he's 1/10 of a second off of his best time. We'll pick up Andrea Latrella. Looks like Andrea is at the 2nd chicane heading into Lesmos 1. And Reese has retired from the session. Reese feels he's not going to be able to do any better. Esteban Hermanos has retired from the session. Ooh, and look at that. Andrea really hanging it out there. Took that corner very wide coming out of Lesmos 2. Cameron Weston Edwards retires from the session. His time will be locked in. So 7th, 8th, and 9th as it stands are locked in. Looks like he's going to run a lot of curbing there, and he's going to lose it. And he ran too much curb on the inside. Andrea not going to be able to set a time. Looks like that's Louis Quinlan behind him. Quinlan's going to use a little bit of slipstream off of Andrea's car. And Andrea's going to be kicking himself in the butt for messing that up at Ascari. He had a good lap going. Here comes Louis Quinlan through the Parabolica. Louis all the way down to the inside line. Improves his time, but not his position. He'll be 5th quickest. We'll pick up Dennis Carenchis. He's diving into the pits. Sandro Doulis is coming down the back straightaway now into the Ascari chicane. And Dennis Carenchis retires from the session. Does Sandro have anything for these top 3? 26 thousandths of a second off of cracking into the 118s. Essentially half a second short of getting into the third spot. He's going to come across the line. 118.775, just shy of cracking into third. And look at this. Victor Larson finally does set a time of a 119.172. Last ditch effort from Victor to try and set a time that was good enough for sixth. And we'll pick up Jensen Randall. Randall is on a very slow and long, lopey final lap coming around. That will be the 7th pole position of the season for Jensen Randall, who seems to be unstoppable this year. Not only is he leading the points here in the SRL F1 series, but he's also leading the way in the Project Cars 2 GT3 challenge as well. So good for Jensen Randall. And that was quite an 18-minute short qualifying session. We're going to do a 50% race, and that is going to blow by real quick. Here's your starting lineup. Jensen Randall, followed by Andrea Latrella, followed by Dennis Carenci. Sandro Doulis is 4th. Louis Quinlan 5th. Victor Larson is 6th. Jim Sanitas is 7th. Max Mulder 8th. Dion Stahl 9th. Esteban Hermanos is 10th. Cameron Weston Edwards well off the pace for him, 11th. Reese March is 12th. Rennie Vanderstadt continues to struggle, 13th. Jorge Correa is 14th. Jurma Rusic is 15th, Felipe 16th, Jan Holm 17th, and Colin Higgins did not set a time as he crashed out. And we've got Sam Brandt on the live chat as well. Good to see Sam was with us. And we are getting ready to do a 50% race. The box? Or the baskets?
The bin.
I don't know. There was a box over there.
It's full of your knives.
It says Easter?
Yeah.
So we are getting ready to do a 50% race here at Monza, Season 6, Round 14. And here we go on the out lap. Once again, Jensen Randall with his 6th pole position of the season. Actually, I'm sorry, his 7th pole position of the season. He'll be followed by Andrea Latrella, who is also following him in the point standings. And Dennis Carenci starting in the 3rd spot. And again, the top 3 for the last 2 races are starting the top 3. Followed by Sandro Doulis, one of his better tracks, starting in 4th. Great qualifying effort by him. Same with Louis Quinlan. Quinlan starting in the 5th spot. Victor Larson starting in 6th. And Jim Sanitas on his SRL debut starting in the 7th position. Good on him. Max Mulder's coming off of back-to-back DNFs. He'll be looking to put some points on the board today for sure. Dion Stahl finally did set a lap time at the very end. Good enough for 9th. We'll see if he can work his way through the field, put some points on the board. And Esteban Hermanos, disqualified from round 11 or round 10 at Silverstone a few weeks back. We'll see if he can make up for that today, put some points on the board as he's filling in for Nick Van Gelder here at Red Bull Racing. Cameron Weston Edwards needs to put some points on the board and make up for missing out last week, as Luke Smith is just 4 points ahead of him in the point standings for 3rd. Reese March will be starting 12th. The lone Haasman, really the lone ranger at this point, been by himself much of the season ever since Sam Brandt decided to retire from F1. Rennie Vanderstadt continues to struggle. Rennie is currently 8th in points with 66 to his credit. He's been off the pace all season. And Jorge Correa, his 2nd race back, finished 10th last week. We'll see if he can put some points on the board again today as he continues his SRL comeback. And Jurma Rusic, full-time Red Bull driver, starting deep in the field, 15th, followed by Felipe, who has a last name too, but I'm not going to pronounce it. And Jan Holm, we haven't seen him in a few weeks, starting in the 17th spot. And Colin Higgins, who has had internet issues the last few races, Also crashed out in qualifying at the Ascari chicane, so he'll be starting in the 18th position. We'll get some tire information up there for everybody. You see who is starting on what. So the top 10 all starting on soft tires. Cameron Weston Edwards and Reese March going to run the alternate tire strategy along with Jorge Correa, Felipe, and Colin Higgins. So we wait for the 5 red lights. Lights out, time to run what you brung, and it's a good jump back there in the racing point. I'm not sure who that was. I don't know if he jumped the start or if he got better start than everybody else, and it's a drag race down to the first corner, and this is going to be Calamity Corner. Andrea Latrella hanging tough on the outside, trying to get that power down, and he's still side by side with Jensen Randall, and they continue to drag race, and it looks like everybody made it out of the first chicane very cleanly. And Latrella still trying to find a way just to get in front of Jensen Randall. Randall still side by side with him. He's going to have the more preferred line. And look at Latrella. Cuts across the nose of Jensen Randall. Slams the door. And he's out in front. Jensen Randall down to the inside. And we've got ourselves a virtual safety car. And Jurma Rusic picks up a 3-second time penalty. And Andrea Latrella leading a race. This isn't going to last long, the virtual safety car. Not sure who we had go off. Looks like it might have been Colin Higgins. Higgins might have, looks like he's had it off at the second chicane. He's back and going under his own power. Still waiting for it to go back to green. Still under virtual safety car conditions. And now we're back to green flag racing as we head into the Parabolica. So Latrella followed by Jensen Randall, followed by Dennis Carentis, these 3 drivers. And here comes Jensen Randall, got the slipstream, goes to the inside, down to turn 1, and again they're side by side, no DRS yet. And Dennis all over the back of Andrea Latrella. And check out, Cameron Weston Edwards is not up into 3rd, but up into the 4th position, it looks like. Looks like the timing and scoring's all screwed up. We'll wait for that to get situated as we take a look here. Cameron's moved up a couple of positions. He's up into 8th. Louis Quinlan and Esteban Hernandez picks up a 3-second time penalty. Woo, Quinlan runs very wide coming out of that corner. And we've got another virtual safety car, and it looks like Jan Holm has had an incident. And Jan Holm, I'm assuming, has gone off at turn 1 somewhere. And that is unfortunate for Jan Holm. Hadn't seen him in a couple weeks. Tries to come back, and Dunzo on lap 2. That is too bad for Jan Holm. The elder statesman of the league continues to struggle this year, unfortunately. So that's 2 virtual safety cars in 2 laps. It looks like it's only going to be a matter of time before we get an actual safety car. And DRS is enabled here on lap 3. A virtual safety car is gone. We're back to green flag racing. And Jan Holm has officially left the session. And Jensen Randall now looks like he is off to the races. And we are continuing. Yep, having technical difficulties, bear with me. So Andrea Latrella still trying to catch up with Jensen Randall as they head through Ascari. All right, sorry for the technical difficulties, and we're back. What a day. Jensen Randall continues to lead the race out in front to almost a second over Andrea Latrella. Dennis Carenchis is 2 seconds back from that. Louis Quinlan 2 seconds back from him. Cars getting separated a little bit at this point. We do have a battle here for 6th. Esteban Hermanos closing in on Cameron Weston Edwards. Edwards up to 6th, and he's bringing along his teammate, Rennie Vanderstappen. Another 3-second time penalty for Esteban Hermanos. And Esteban finds himself the meat in the middle of a McLaren sandwich. Looks like he gets a good run coming out of Ascari down the back straightaway. Got Brian Power on the live chat as well. Don't have Brian with us, unfortunately, today. And here goes Esteban. Goes to the inside. He's got the DRS advantage. Cameron Weston Edwards takes away that inside line. And Cameron's going to duck back in behind him. And shout out to Max Mulder. Max Mulder is up into 5th. Great run for him. Meanwhile, Sandro looks like he might have gotten called out in the opening couple of laps with the virtual safety cars. He's fallen all the way back to 14. He is all over the back of Jure Marusic for the 13th position. Meanwhile, Victor Larson is now battling with Cameron Weston Edwards. You see Victor's got the DRS slot open. Now this is going to be tight going into Ascari. Who's going to give way? And they make contact. And Cameron gets the short end of the stick on that one. That was a bold, aggressive move by Victor Larson. And I'd be careful rubbing shoulders with Cameron Weston Edwards. But Victor Larson is up into the 7th spot. Meanwhile, Andrea Latrella has started to close the gap to Jensen Randall. He's now within half a second, but he just picked up a 3-second time penalty, and that is going to hurt him bad. It's the one thing I will say about Jensen Randall. Jensen Randall has, and we've got another virtual safety car. Who's gone off this time? Oh, and it's Jorge Correa battling with Colin Higgins, and Correa has no front wing. And that is unfortunate for Jorge Correa. Does anybody take advantage? And here we've got a little bit of a mess here. The guy's trying to stay inside the timing delta. It looks like we're back to green flag racing, and this is Cameron Weston Edwards runs a little wide coming out of there. And Dion Stahl's going to blow by him up into 8th. And Cameron struggling a little bit. You hear him trying to get back to that throttle. You got Rennie Vanderstappen behind him. Jim Sanitas behind that. So 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and 11th, all pretty close together. Heading through the Parabolica and out onto the front straightaway. You see Jure Marusic and Sandro Doulis are still battling it out. They're side by side coming out of the Parabolica. Sandro's got the run up into 13. And they are closing in on Reese March. Whoa, and Jure Marusic blows the corner. Whoa, almost caused a crash. He's going to have to stop, let the cars go back by, and he picks up a 5-second time penalty for that. Now that will possibly be removed after a steward's investigation. So Sandro moves himself up into 12th, but just picked up a 3-second time penalty. Uh-oh, and it looks like Esteban Hermanos. Oh, and there's a crash. Esteban Hermanos. And who is that? Is that Reese March? Oh, it was Victor Larson. Larson retires from the session as well. And another virtual safety car. So we've had 4 virtual safety cars here on 7 laps of action. And a wreck involving Esteban Hermanos and Victor Larson in the other Haas. And again, only a matter of time before we actually see an actual safety car. So, Louis Quinlan, back to green flag racing. Quinlan is all over the back of Dennis Carenchis for the 3rd spot, and he's bringing Max Mulder with him. And in the midst of this, Dion Stahl. Oh, Dion Stahl just lost the car. The 2nd chicane. I was going to say he's moved his way up into 6th. He's now got end plate damage on the left front. And that's going to hurt him. He's going to have to pit. Meanwhile, you've got a battle here. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And is who is this? Jorge Correa as a lap car, I believe. And Jorge needs to get out of that and let these cars go by. Jorge does not need to be a part of that 2-car battle. Meanwhile, Dennis Carenchis has lost the spot to Louis Quinlan. He's going to try and get it back heading into turn 1. And a great move by Dennis Carenchis. And again, Jorge, I need to advise you to stay out of the fight, please. Jorge Correa going around the outside. Jorge is a lap car at this point. He gets out in front. He's going to take Louis Quinlan with him. And I got to tell you, it's been frowned upon this year, not only in the F1 series, but in Project Cars 2, the GT3 series, that the lap cars racing too aggressively with lead lap cars, especially when those lead lap cars are actually in a fight for position. So Louis Quinlan gets the 3rd spot, takes it away from Dennis Carenchis. Carenchis now running with his teammate 4th and 5th. And we've got another virtual safety car, and this time it's Sandro Doulis. What has happened to Sandro? That is extremely disappointing. And it looks like he's had an off at the Ascari chicane. That is too bad. And under virtual safety car, Rennie Vanderstadt picks up a 3-second time penalty. So let's real quick. I'm sure Sandro will like to join us in the booth. So stand by for that. Unfortunate turn of events for Sandro Doulis. And we are back to under virtual safety car. And Sam mentioning that Sandro had dropped a bunch of positions. I'm sure we'll get Sandro in here and talk to him a little bit. Epic the Animal saying we're going to break the virtual safety car record. Not sure what the record is, but that is, what, 6 now? 7? I think I've lost count. Meanwhile, we're going to pick up this battle here. This is Jim Sanitas and Reese March, the battle for 8th. And we do have Sandro joining us in the booth now. Sandro, rough day after a great qualifying effort. What happened from the get-go?
Yeah, man, it's been really tough. Through practice, I just didn't feel really comfortable, which was surprising to me because, as we see the leaders in the pits actually right now, which was surprising because Monza is usually one of my better tracks. I got the qualifying together quite well with some good slipstream as well, and I thought I might have a good shot at a good finish, but Man, it just went downhill after Louis had a spin. Louis spun in the first chicane, Louis Quinlan, on I think lap 2 or 3. And he just re-entered the track in a kind of a dangerous manner, and I had to take avoiding action, and doing that I went on the dirty part of the track, which got my tires really dirty, and I really underestimated how dirty my tires actually were, so I kind of lost it on the power, and dropped down to 14. I mean, I had some good battles with Reese back there, and I was back up to P7, I think, so it could have been a great points day, but I was just pushing too hard. I had worn soft tires, and I just went a bit offline on the exit for Scali, and then, yeah, just lost, couldn't do anything, and yeah, man, day over. It's just, Monza's been really rough for me, because I always know that I have good pace around here, but just, I think it's my 3rd retirement in a row at Monza, and like, it's, yeah, tough, man, tough.
That is disappointing, unfortunately. You know, the home Ferrari, you being in the Ferrari, you had a great qualifying effort. Starting in 4th, you were running the special livery on the helmet. You know, you announced today that you and Dion will be staying at Ferrari next year. I mean, there was a lot of going into this race for Ferrari, and really unfortunate for you. And Dion struggling a bit. So he's running down in 11th as well. So not how you guys wanted your day to turn out, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointment, especially with all the good stuff coming into today, into the race, like a lot of excitement for us, especially like as a Ferrari driver, you always want to perform at Monza, obviously for the Tifosi and the Italian fans, and just kind of a special race for us. And yeah, Dion had struggled getting a lap in qualifying, got his lap in eventually, but I know he picked up damage a few laps ago, so that's why he's dropped down the order as well. So yeah, it's been a tough race.
Dion did break the left front end plate on his wing. He has gone in for a new set of shoes and a new front wing, and it looks like we're inside the pit window for a lot of these guys. You see Cameron Weston-Edwards pitted a couple laps ago. Max Mulder's come out behind him in 6th on fresh mediums. Looking at the drivers, where they're standing and what tires they're on, you think we're going to see some guys do a 2-stop strategy, or are we all going to look at these guys running to the end?
I expect everybody to run to the end. That's as we see Cameron picking up a penalty while making the overtake on Felipe. Yeah, I think everybody should be running to the end here. This is actually a really easy one-stop, especially as you see with Cameron, who is on the hard tires, like hard to soft is easily possible, and softs to mediums as well. So I don't expect 2-stop strategies.
And Cameron did move up into the 4th position, as you said, picks up a 3-second time penalty. Timing penalties have been an issue, it seems like, all year for a lot of drivers, but you take a look at somebody like Jensen Randall, who's been real consistent, not only leading the championship, leading the races, but he's also been really consistent not getting those timing penalties. I think has really helped him a lot.
Yeah, and this is something that he really does a lot better than his rival and championship contender, Andrea Latrella. Andrea has struggled so far this season with keeping himself clean with penalties, which is difficult if you want to challenge Jensen Randall, who got a pace advantage and stays clean without penalties.
So we're watching this battle here. This is 4th and 5th. Cameron Weston-Edwards trying to hold off Max Mulder. Max having a great run up in the 5th today. He's going to have the DRS advantage coming down the back straightaway. And being such a fast track, I mean, depending on how you're running your downforce, I mean, is there a huge speed advantage of the DRS at this place?
Definitely. DRS is everything. You can see throughout the race maybe like little trains building, and if you are not close to that DRS train, as we see Max Mulder going to the outside now to Parabolica, and this is tactics by Cameron Weston-Edwards, because he wants the DRS, as we were talking about the DRS, he wants the DRS on the main straight, so he let Max Mulder by here, so you can get the DRS advantage on the main straight. So DRS is always a massive factor at Monza.
And we do see Cameron is got the DRS slot open. Looks like he's going to try and make that pass, heading back into turn 1. Mulder taking the defensive line. Cameron not bold enough to dive bomb him. I'm a little surprised because Cameron's usually a little bit more aggressive than that. But Cameron, I think, wants to really put some points on the board and actually take back that 3rd spot in the championship point standings over Luke Smith. Cameron obviously wasn't able to capitalize on Luke not being a part of the Spa race, so really wants to try and make up for it today. But Cameron, hard versus medium, I mean, are the hards going to come in more towards the end, or medium's going to wear out, or is there just not enough laps and the track just isn't tough enough on tires to make a huge difference?
The hards should definitely come in at the end, especially if some people took the medium tires on the first virtual safety car, so quite early on. They definitely welled quite a lot in the end, so Cameron Weston-Everest should have an advantage over other medium runners.
And it looks like Dennis Carenchis is closing in on Felipe. This is a battle for 6th. Dennis was running up at the top 3 most of this race. Looks like he's had some issues under the pit stop sequence, falling through the field. And Felipe's on 13-lap old mediums. Is Felipe trying to run a medium to soft strategy? And they make contact heading into the Parabolica.
Yeah, I think Felipe's strategy is just staying out longer here, and it's difficult. He probably has the goal, as we see them side by side on the front straight. He probably wants to switch over to softs for the last stint, which is an interesting strategy. It's basically the other way around. Yeah, let's see if that works out. It's definitely a bold strategy, but he's been at the back of the pack after qualifying, so he needs to try something.
And we see Reese March making a move on Rennie van der Stapp. This is the battle for 9th, and Dion Stahl is a part of this. 9th, 10th, and 11th. You can throw a blanket over them. And Dennis did make that pass for 6th. And Felipe just got passed by Jim Sanitas. Sanitas on his SRL debut here in F1 moves up into 7th. So good on him, and a lot of action around the track. Cameron still within striking distance of Max Mulder. He's got the DRS slot open as they head down towards the Scari.
And this is surprising because usually if you got DRS on the car in front of you, this is a really easy pass around Monza, and it shouldn't take you longer than a lap. But Max Mulder is running a very, very low downforce setup, and he's actually been one of the quickest cars in the straight line in qualifying. So this might be why Cameron Weston-Everest is struggling to get past the racing point.
And that's actually kind of surprising to me because in races past, Cameron usually runs a very trimmed out car where he's usually one that's hard to pass on the straightaway because his car's so trimmed out. And looks like he might have missed the mark today on his setup. Looks like he's going to make the pass now as they head down into turn 1. Going to be side by side, but look at this.
Whoa.
Mulder deep on the brakes and is able to hold him off.
He's tasting some of his own medicine there, Cameron Weston-Everest, with Max Mulder being very impressive.
To the outside, and now Cameron gets the run.
They've got him now probably with the ERS advantage. I think Max Mulder probably burned a lot there as Felipe has finally made his way into the pits. Yeah, talking about the setup for McLaren boys, there's actually been a last-second change ahead of qualifying. There were some practice sessions going on before the race, and the McLaren boys were running very low downforce, but they made a last-second change as they were struggling in practice, and they actually went for a higher downforce package, Rennie van der Stapp and Cameron Weston-Everest, so that might be why we are not seeing the usual straight-line speed of Cameron Weston-Everest today.
And Cameron has got a couple of timing penalties to his credit. Max Mulder, he's got at least one that we can see. And again, it looks like Mulder is going to have the DRS advantage when they come out of the Parabolica and onto the front straightaway. So great battle for 5th here.
Another battle going on for P6 as well.
Meanwhile, back at the front, we'll pick up P6. This is Jim Sanitas starting to close in on Dennis Carenchis. I'm a little surprised Carenchis has fallen off. It looks like Mulder makes the move heading into turn 1 on Cameron Weston-Everest as we jump back to that real quick.
A clean pass inside into turn 1. That's the usual overtaking opportunity there into turn 1. Late on the brakes, and yeah, easy move for Mulder.
And Max has really showed some good prowess under braking. That's 2 laps in a row that he's really going deep on those brakes. And while him and Cameron Weston-Everest have been battling it out, you see the 2 cars behind them, the other Racing Point and the other, well, not the other McLaren, but the other Racing Point and Jim Sanitas in the Renault, they are starting to close in on this battle. So there's a 4-car battle starting to materialize, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Here, and you see Dennis Carenchis almost within DRS range coming out of Lesmos 2.
And this is the DRS train I was talking about. As soon as someone gets into the DRS window, it's very, very easy to stay with the car in front of you, even if you are not really on the pace of the car ahead.
And Cameron, you can definitely see that, as you said, that last-minute change to that higher downforce. You can see how that's hurting him a little bit down that back straightaway. Gets a good run through the Parabolica, though. It keeps him within striking distance. He'll have that DRS advantage. And shout out to Louis Quinlan running in the 3rd spot. Ferrari-powered Alfa Romeo running in the top 3. That's a good effort today by Louis Quinlan. See if he can keep it there. And it looks like Cameron is struggling with rear grip a little bit.
Yeah, it's been impressive to me how incredibly, incredibly difficult it's been for Cameron Edwards to get past the racing point of Max Mulder. Despite the high downforce package, I expect him to go by there and possibly build a gap, but it's been really tough for Cameron Edwards throughout the last 5 laps here.
Cam got a great run coming out of the 2nd chicane. Down into Lesmos 2, he's going to have the DRS advantage again. But Max has got that car trimmed out pretty well. Max has been taking some pages out of Cameron's playbook, it looks like.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see Cameron Edwards tasting some of his own medicine there, like the aggressive driving a few laps ago with the late braking maneuver as well. It's great to watch, man. 2 very aggressive drivers with Max Mulder, the young gun, and Cameron Edwards, a really experienced driver in SRL racing, going at it.
Well, Max coming off of 2 DNFs in a row, and unfortunately was involved with a wreck with me at the GT3 race in Spa. But he did win the Snowball Derby earlier this year, Project Cars 2 and the Rally Cars, so he's going to be carrying a little bit of momentum from that. That was a great run that he had in the Snowball Derby. See, Cameron makes the pass going into turn 1. Compliments of the DRS, and now this is a 4-car battle because Dennis is within DRS range, so now we've got 4 cars all within DRS of each other, and Cameron Weston Edwards is going to be the sitting duck. He's got the higher downforce package, and he's out in front with no DRS to help him along.
Yeah, the back of this little train is Jim Sonidas on his SRL League debut as a full-time racer for Renault as a replacement of Franz van Houten, who unfortunately had to pull the plug early this season. And he really wants to get by Dennis Karancic here because he's on the medium tires and he's basically on push now to kind of build a gap on the hard runners, so at the end of the race he can stay ahead of them.
And it looks like now Cameron got a real good run coming out of the Lesmos 1 and 2, and but he just picked up a 3-second time penalty coming out of Ascari. So he had built a little bit of a gap, but that's going to be all for naught depending on what the timing penalties are.
And Max Mulder's going to be sitting ducky on the F1 straight as Reese Marsh is retired.
Reese Marsh is retired from the session. What has happened to Reese? And it looks like
another Ascari incident.
I was going to say we pick up Jurma Rusic, see if we can find out what happened to Reese Marsh. And yep, there's this car off onto the right, and it looks like, yep, he's had a incident coming out of Ascari.
Such an incredible, difficult corner as we see a nice battle there for P5 between
look
the 2
at
racing
this.
points.
And Jim Sonidas
is in the battle.
Going around the outside of Max Mulder. Oh, and he threatens the needle. Good move by Sonidas, and he's going to try and go to the outside of the 2nd chicane. That's not going to work. They make contact. Mulder gets back to the inside. Oh, and he slams the door on Sonidas, cuts across his nose, and Sonidas has got end plate damage on the left front, and he's probably going to be kicking himself. Probably a little bit too bold of a move to try and make there.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Sonidas. Let's see if he pits and gets his damage fixed, but yeah, he should have hold back there, like around the outside through the 2nd chicane is a move that is very difficult to do, and yeah, he paid the price there.
Meanwhile, Dennis Karancic is up into 5th now. Cameron Weston Edwards finally gets that gap he's been looking for. He's about 3 seconds out in front of this battle now, but Max wants that spot back, and I don't think there's a whole lot of team orders and communication between the Racing Point drivers.
I don't think so. As Max Mulder is definitely now in the slipstream. He got a tire advantage at the moment. He got fresher tires and he's on the softer compound. But he's just a little bit too far back for this first turn.
And this actually should be a really good battle because Dennis Karancic has shown some good promise, some good speed, and some definite aggressiveness and prowess on track. And Dennis, another one of those few drivers, actually him and Jensen, as it stands, him, Jensen, and Louis, the only 3 drivers right now without a timing penalty. Very clean run for Dennis Karancic.
Yeah, and that's key on a track like Monza where timing penalties is a massive factor, and in the end we're going to see a lot of shuffling around with the finishing order due to penalties.
And you see there, Sonidas is struggling with the understeers. He comes out of Lesmos 1, runs it very wide. Lesmos 2 almost dumps the left sides into the grass.
And it doesn't look like the front wing damage of Sonidas is that significant, because he's actually, yeah, he's staying with Max Mulder here, as Max Mulder gets a very, very iffy run through the first part of...
Whoa, and Sonidas runs way wide through Ascari.
And that was tough.
And Colin Higgins just picked up a 3-second time penalty, and we've got what's going on up here? Andrea Latrella dives into the pits.
So he's going for the 2-stop. That's interesting.
Do you think he might be trying to get that bonus point for the fastest lap? And
yeah, that might be it. That's the same thing he did at Belgium as well, the last race, where he went in with, I think, like 7 laps to go for a soft tire stint to get that 1 point for the final lap. Like, he probably saw that he got the penalty and he's like 3 seconds away from Jensen Randall and probably doesn't have a shot at the win, but he at least wants to get that extra point for the fastest lap. And that should be easily done on those soft tires.
The question's going to be, can he make up the 5-second deficit to Louis Quinlan in the 5 laps? And Louis has grown leaps and bounds this year over his last 2 seasons. Really getting back to his old self. The handling model of this game has really suited him on the controller. Louis has been a little bit more aggressive and has found a little bit more speed this year. Andrea might have his hands full a little bit. It's, as they say, it's one thing to get to him, it's another thing to get past him.
Yeah, it's something that I've been waiting for quite a long time, actually, because I knew from right the get-go, I think Season 3 is when we've been enjoying that. He has a lot of raw pace. He had some good qualifying efforts as well. It's just always been consistency and race pace that he has struggled with. But this season he seemed to improve a lot in that, in race pace, and it's definitely paying off as we see him running second. He also got his first ever SRL podium 2 rounds ago, so yeah, great running from Louis Quinlan, and great to see him up there.
And Jim Sonidas has made it by Max Mulder, but Mulder is coming back down the front straightaway. So as you said, that downforce loss kind of helping Sonidas down these straightaways. Meanwhile, Dennis Carenchis is now within striking distance of Cameron Weston Edwards once again. So as you noted earlier, the high downforce, maybe not high downforce, but the higher downforce setup. Oh no, and Felipe's retired from the session. That's another car gone.
I think he retired in the pits. I think he just gave up on this race. Yeah, fair play, but yeah, it is what it is. Shame for Felipe, who had an interesting strategy going on there. Yeah, and that's only 12 runners left.
Meanwhile, Dennis Carenchis is looking to make the move. And for what it's worth, Andrea Latrella has made up time on Louis Quinlan by a lot. He is now 1.5 seconds back from Louis Quinlan for the 2nd spot. We continue to watch this battle here for the 4th spot.
Max got a great run coming out. Dennis got a great run coming out of Ascari there, but he's definitely going to try to stay behind Cameron Weston Edwards for the Parabolico, so he just can get that DRS advantage down the front straight, which is vital on this track. And good exit by Dennis Carenchis.
Carenchis is going to be easily to make this pass going down the front straightaway. Not a whole lot Cameron can do in that regard, and Max has been, well, not Max, but Dennis, getting my racing points mixed up. Dennis easily gets past him. Meanwhile, we're going to pick up Andrea Latrella, because Latrella is all over the back of Louis Quinlan. This is the battle for 2nd. And Andrea Latrella...
Jim Sonidas had, unfortunately, to pull into the pits and change that front wing eventually, and he's going to drop down to 9th place, unfortunately, on his SRL League debut.
But now there is the battle for the fastest lap. Sonidas could get that extra point. Now, Andrea Latrella did set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:21 just a lap ago. And he is trying to find a way now around Louis Quinlan down the straightaway towards Ascari. He's got the DRS slot open. He's not close enough to make a move just yet.
And it's going to be closer than I expected, because Andrea Latrella still has that 3-second time penalty as well. So he needs to pull a gap at the end of this to avoid dropping down to 3rd.
Yeah, even though he gets in front of Louis Quinlan, you do make a good point. He's got to make up that 3-second time penalty. And he's all over the gearbox of the Alfa Romeo coming through the Parabolica. Louis is going to take that inside line, try and make life a little difficult for him, but there's not a whole lot Louis can do in this regard. Louis is going to tuck back in behind him, pick up some slipstream, and try and stick with him.
Quinlan is a very tactical driver, so he sees on his screen that Andrea Latrella has a penalty, so he probably just tries to kind of stay with him now, but it's going to be difficult with those fresh soft tires on the AlphaTauri.
And Cameron Weston Edwards now battling it out with his teammate as they are nose to tail down the front straightaway, and probably not the race McLaren wanted. Oh, and Andrea just picked up another 3-second time penalty, so Louis got himself a really good cushion to pick up a second-place finish, as Team McLaren is in hot pursuit of Dion Stahl in the Ferrari. Dion has quietly worked his way up into the 6th position.
Yeah, nice recovery by Dion, who had that front wing damage earlier. Yeah, impressive front by Rennie as well.
Whoa! And Rennie Vanderstappen just jumped the sausage curve at the second chicane. Whole front end was off the ground on that one. And Max Mulder just picked up a 3-second time penalty. That could benefit Dion Stahl. Dion is within those 3 seconds. He himself has a time penalty. And Jim Sanitas just picked up another time penalty. So we know a lot of these drivers have at least one. Who's got more than one, we don't know. I don't like to let it out of the bag. I like it to be a surprise.
And I won't spoil that, but you're talking about Rennie Vanderstappen. I'm impressed by him being up there and actually getting close to Cameron West-Edwards, but he's gonna fall off a cliff, I expect now, because 17 laps on those medium tires is definitely a stretch, and you will definitely feel the tire wear now at the end of this race.
And Team McLaren, they have struggled a lot this year, especially Rennie. Rennie's really been off the pace, and Andrea picks up another 3-second time penalty. Andrea is getting close to possibly losing out on 3rd position if he continues that up.
Yeah, his P2 is gone here, so that strategy definitely backfired with pitting for a 2nd stop. And yeah, he's going to be kicking himself, especially if you look at the championship. It's getting close for him to be impossible to come back, even mathematically, to beat Jensen Randall in the championship. And yeah, tough going for Andrea in his home race.
And we did have the Don Foreign on the live chat say that Jensen Randall is the Lewis Hamilton of SRL, and that is very much true. Jensen in the Mercedes, of course. I think we're all tired of seeing Mercedes win. Doesn't matter what regard it is. And that's not to take anything away from Jensen, because Jensen has been very, very consistent this year, and doesn't seem to have the cockiness that Lewis Hamilton has. So I'll give him that respect. But Dion Stahl closing the gap down to Max Mulder. It is the last lap of this race, so it's going to be a lot for any of these guys to really catch somebody. The timing penalties are going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah, Jensen Randall, man, what a season it's been for him. I've been checking his times as well last round at Belgium, and he's actually getting close to esports level drivers in his time. So yeah, he's been very impressive, and it's going to be a record-breaking win for him. He's going to be the single-handedly leader of wins in the season. So yeah, final corner.
And this would be Jensen Randall's 7th win of the year as he comes across the line. Jensen Randall with his 7th win of the season. And we're going to pick up Andrea Latrella. Andrea's going to come across the line 2nd, but that's not going to stay that way.
The gap is definitely not big enough for Andrea Latrella to keep that 2nd place, and he has
it's going to be very close, actually, for 3rd, because Dennis Carenchis is closing the gap. And you see Louis Quinlan drops to 3rd. Dennis Carenchis looks like he lost a little bit of time through Ascari. He was almost down to 10 seconds.
2 seconds in the end, the gap. Yeah, Andrea Latrella.
Max
Definitely
Mulder,
a mistake.
Max Mulder will come across the line in 5th. Will he stay there? No, Dion Stahl gets the 5th position. Max is going to be 6th. Cameron Weston-Edwards is 7th. Rennie Vanderstappen is 8th. Jim Sanitas trying to run the fastest lap of this race. He's going to come across 9th. And Jurma Rusic, he is all by his lonesome. And I don't think he's in danger of losing any positions to Colin Higgins. So at least Red Bull picks up 1 point today. And unfortunately, Jorge Correa finishing outside of the points as he continues on his SRL comeback.
Gotta give a little shout out to my fellow Greek here, Jim Sonides, on his first ever league race. Was running up there strong, challenging for P5 and P6, got that front wing damage, but still got some good points off the race, and yeah, shout out to him.
Somehow Jurma Rusic got driver of the day. I don't think I agree with that. But there you see Jensen Randall winning a record-breaking 7th win of the season. Props to Louis Quinlan, not only picking up another podium position, but second place. Good on him as he continues to improve. Andrea Latrella does pick up another podium. That would make 9 podiums this year for Andrea Latrella. Unfortunately, he would like those podiums to be wins. Here's your unofficial results for today's race. Jensen Randall, followed by Louis Quinlan, Andrea Latrella. Dennis Carenci's just outside in the 4th position. Deion Stahl, great comeback drive to 5th. Max Mulder is 6th. Cameron Weston Edwards is 7th. Rennie Vanderstapp is 8th. Jim Sinitas is 9th. Jovan Rusic is 10th. That rounds out your top 10 points paying positions. Colin Higgins is 11th. Jorge Correa is 12th. And then 13th through 18th are all DNFs. That is Felipe Rees-March, Sandro Doulis, who's here with me in the booth, Victor Larson, Esteban Hermanos, and the elder statesman Jan Holm. What a race.
And once again, it's Jensen Randall up on top. It just shows that he's been in a class of his own so far this season, and yeah, he's getting close to that championship.
Well, and as you said, I mean, it's even becoming difficult for Andrea mathematically to even be in contention at this point. Which says a lot about Jensen. Jensen, we know, had flashes of speed last year. He was a little inconsistent. Did a lot of work in the offseason to try and become more consistent, not only in the F1 regard, but we talked about it a little bit earlier. He's also leading the championship points in the GT3 challenge. So, on Project Cars 2.
Yeah, he's putting in a lot of work on F1 2020. You can see him throughout so many leagues during the week. I think he's racing like 8 league races a week, something crazy like that, and that's definitely paying off. Practice is extremely, extremely important when it comes to league racing, and it's definitely paying off for Jensen Randall this season so far.
So, heading into next race, what is next week? Is that another F1 race?
Let me check the calendar. I think it's another F1 race, yeah, should be.
I do believe we'll be doing round 15 next week, and then I think the week after that we'll be back at Project Cars 2 for the GT3 challenge.
Yeah, we're at Baku next week, 10th of April, so stay tuned for that.
Interesting. I did mention Baku earlier in the race. That's going to be 3 power tracks in a row, Spa, Monza, and Baku. I talked about it, how that was kind of by design, the flow of the season, trying to keep some of the more traditional tracks together and the power tracks at the same time. So we've had, Hungary, Spa, Monza. Those are 3 more traditional F1 tracks. And then you've got Spa, Monza, Baku, the power tracks together. So really good flow for the season on the calendar. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. Baku is always a pretty interesting race. Not as much of a wreck fest as I would think in years past, but again, another high-speed track. And speaking of that, going into Baku, you yourself, coming off of a couple of rough, especially coming off of Monza with such a bad race. I mean, do you approach Baku any differently than you would under normal circumstances, or?
No, I think as a racing driver, you can't do that. You can't look back and think, yeah, man, last week I crashed out. I gotta be more careful today. You still go full throttle and try to get the best result. You forget about it now. Obviously, I'm very disappointed with how today's race went. But yeah, just eyes forward and let's see what I can do at Baku.
Right on. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you in the booth. Not in this capacity, though. We certainly wanted to see you do better on track today, but always good to have a driver's perspective in the booth with me. So I appreciate you joining me for that. Everybody, I appreciate everybody tuning in for the race. Like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. Check us out online. The link is in the description below. And also, you can catch us on Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. SRL _F1. Go check it out. We're very active on there. If you want any news, standings, results, highlight videos, go check that out. We are SRL _F1.
Yeah, be sure to actually do check that out, because that is where most of that's where the official results, any type of post-race penalties will be posted for any of the viewers as well. So be sure to check that out, and we will see everybody next week at the next round at Baku.